There were 13 of us living in a very fancy parking lot. It wasn't very fancy, but as far as parking lots go, it was very fancy. Hello there, beautiful humans. Melinda Joy, Crossroads Storyteller here, with what I think will be the beginning of a depth year style series. Yes, so to give some context for my depth year and then to move into what I think I'm gonna do is show you what I have been reading and which cards I have been using, with a little verbal recap of the decks I used primarily during my pregnancy, because I'm currently postpartum. And then I'll show you what cards and books I intend to read next, and a little bit more about the depth year when I'm looking at those cards. So that's the plan. So this deck, the Creative Liberation Now or Creative Liberation Network deck, is a very creative, beautiful, ingenuitive deck that I got to witness be created. I was living in a communal style situation. There were 13 of us living in a very fancy parking lot. It wasn't very fancy, but as far as parking lots go, it was very fancy. We had like outdoor showers and things like that, and so many beautiful plants and herbs and fun people. Anyways, one of the people who lived in that parking lot with me was creating this deck. And then I moved away from the community, and the deck was published while I was out of touch with this human that I know. And I guess in 2021, I went looking for the deck, and I found it, and I got what I think it was the very last copy of 100 print run. And since then, this deck hasn't been on the market, and it's such a brilliant deck that I want to help it become available for those who want it and can use it to help decolonize and rewild their selves and their life and all of that goodness. So I reached out in 2022, and Amani, the human I've been referencing, and I started looking at options for printing. And then I got pregnant and everything got put on pause. And then in postpartum, while I was chilling, I discovered PM Press, which is gonna come back up, so no pressure. You don't need to memorize that right now. I will reference PM Press again. And I got so excited, and so wanted to bring some life back into this project, now that I'm starting to get some of my energy back postpartum. And my intention is to pull a card from this deck every single day, at least one card, and to share my experience with all of you, and to keep that up until this project gets picked up, or we find another way to make this deck available. So that's the premise of the series. That's the reason why I'm doing it. That's the context behind the history behind the deck and why it is important to me. I mean, it's important to me for lots of other reasons too, like the content of the deck, but we will get into that through the series. So this is here because I have decided that this oracle deck is buddies with this tarot deck, partially because they're both created by independent artists in the Bay Area, and also because I think they have some common themes. So I'll probably go into that in addition throughout the series. So what I have been doing, while I was pregnant, I hardcore relied on the Mysteries of Mary deck by Hettienne Grobler, something similar to that, as well as Jessica Zenchuk's Baba Yaga deck. Those two were tried and true buddies throughout the whole pregnancy. And then the Spacious Tarot and Fifth Spirit Tarot. The Spacious Tarot is by Carrie Mallon, and the Fifth Spirit Tarot is by Charlie. I apologize, Charlie. I'm not remembering your last name right now. And so I found a lot of enjoyment from those decks also. And I used more decks than just those four. Those are just the four that I used so much I remember. Oh, also, I also used the Mother Tarot by Wren McMurdo. Okay, so once baby popped out though, I started using the Centennial edition of the RWS, and that is because I am reviewing my tarot school content with Naha at 22 Teachings, and so I wanted to redo the homework too, and so that's why I started exploring, or pulled out this deck. And then I started reading, oh no, I believe her first name is Camellia. I think her last name starts with an E. She has several books, all of them with the devil in the title, but Read Like the Devil, which is her book on how to read Marseille. And so I really wanted to explore her method for reading the cards, and so I have this out for practice whenever she has suggestions. And then I just couldn't, I couldn't stay away from, oh, I know the name of this deck. It's the Safario? That's not right. But the ancient Italian tarot is the Lo Scarabeo version of it. And I wanted a copy that I wouldn't be heartbroken about if it was burped up on. And so I didn't want to use my El Meneghello version while I'm chilling with a baby, basically on my person 24/7. And so yeah, I've been exploring this deck also, in addition to this one with this style that Camellia references. So those are the decks I've been using, and I think I'm going to retire this one and this one, and I'm going to replace them with diverse decks that have different skin tones in them, and see how I feel about that in my practice with the Creative Liberation Now deck, or if I really want to go back to those versions. So the other deck that I've been reviewing, and this deck will probably come up a little more often, at least at the beginning of this series, because I'm looking at this deck in relationship to the lesser banishing, the LBRP, lesser LB banishing ritual of the pentagram. There we go, LBRP. And I'm thinking of the watchtowers as lighthouses, and allowing the study of this deck to get me inspired in my visualizations. So I'll probably show you more about that deck at a later time, but we have an agenda today to set the scene. And then the books I have been reading, in addition to the Camellia Read Like the Devil book, I read Rachel Pollack's A Walk Through the Forest of Souls via my library, and I also read the novel The Fortune Teller's Cards. I think I'll probably put all of these titles and things in the description box below, so you don't have to worry about all my half references. And both of those books were so thoroughly enjoyable, for different reasons. Rachel Pollack's because it felt like the theology of tarot, which I crave as a ex-religious studies scholar. I mean, I'm still a scholar, I'm just not in academia right now. And the novel because it was so much fun to see the history of tarot woven through a novel. I've been using this for some of my practice with this project. And then I read the first essay of this, which was so phenomenal and so deep that I had to set it down. I tried to start reading the next essay right afterwards, and my brain was just like, do not compute, because the first essay was so rich and dense. So I haven't picked it back up yet, but soon I'm sure I will find the room in my brain for the next essay. And then I finished this book, which was phenomenal. If you are familiar with Starhawk's Dreaming in the Dark, you'll know her Appendix A, the Burning Times, where she talks about how the burning times and the witch burnings were connected to colonialism and capitalism. And of course, colonialism and capitalism are bedfellows. And so Silvia Federici, I'm not sure, that's the first time I tried to say her name. She basically takes this concept and fleshes it out and modernizes it to 2023 and does such a brilliant job of it. It is so eloquently and intentionally done, and I very, very thoroughly enjoyed it. And these two books are published by PM Press. So like I said, I discovered PM Press not too long ago. They're an anarchist bookstore that also publishes tarot decks. And by tarot decks, I mean 2 of them. But hopefully they'll be publishing a 3rd one shortly. Hint, hint. So I said PM Press would come back into the conversation, and this is where it's coming in. I got these 2 books from there. So I'm going to continue to read this one. I'm going to continue to use this for reference. This one is on the to read next pile because of the connection I referenced. But before I start reading Dreaming in the Dark, I want to finish these 2 books that I've started. This one is about unschooling, which is brilliantly done. I love it because it's also looking at how parents of unschooling children have to go through the unschooling process for themselves, and so that they can provide that option to their children. And if you don't know about unschooling, there's another book called Free to Learn. I'll include it in the comments below. And that book does a really, really good job of answering any questions anyone could possibly have about unschooling and why one would do it, and yeah, its place in the history of education. And then this is a Lon Milo Duquette book. When I realized I wanted to start working with this deck more seriously, I pulled out all of my Lon Milo Duquette books because the humans who created this deck were inspired by the Thoth deck, or the Thoth deck. And so I want to, at least initially in this series, take the opportunity to explore my Thoth content to support me in studying this deck. Okay, so the decks that are coming in to rotation, I decided to try out the Wiser Tarot. I'm not a huge fan of how yellow some of the faces are and how white some of the faces are. Like, nobody in the face of the earth is sheet white. I wish they would have like made them a little bit peachy instead of like paper white, but whatever, it's okay. I'm gonna explore this deck and see how I like it, and see how it feels with the Creative Liberation Now deck and the GaiaStar Codex. Just to show you, I put both the Creative Liberation Now and the Star Codex in this bag. They both fit quite well. See, they even have like similar mandala arts. Anyways, so this deck and this deck, they're gonna be the focus of this depth year. And yeah, they're the focus, and other decks will come and go in circulation around them. So we're gonna try out this one. We're also gonna try out the Diverse Tarot de Marseille, which is on its way to me. And then if you were around before, when I used to make content before I got pregnant, you would know that last time I spent some time with this deck, I found sort of a rainbow theme that I wanted to more thoroughly explore. And so I pulled out Chrissy Bentley's Narrative Alchemy Tarot, because this deck is a rainbow, and it's a chakra deck, and I'm not sure if I'm going to think of the chakras while I'm working with it. I don't think I'm going to get the online booklet that she has just yet. I'll inform you if I decide to do that. But and also the this deck you can get from Make Playing Cards. But if you want a box, you need to order the box separately, and then I just took the title card and super glued it on, and that's what's going on there. So yeah, I'm gonna explore this deck. I'm gonna explore these decks. I'm gonna finish reading some books and start reading some books, and I'll probably make some other content. We'll see how I'm feeling, where my energy is with my family duties. But my intention is to, in addition to making updates of my depth year and my practice, I want to also just make fun videos about this deck and how I am thinking about it and playing with it, and the insights I'm getting, and how it relates to other decks like the Thoth or the Thoth, which you don't see any other Thoths here just yet, just my Lon Milo Duquette book, but I've been pulling all of my Thoth or Thoth decks out so that they're ready to pull in whenever it's time to include them in my, sorry for the jiggle, whenever it's time to include them in my practice. But I thought for now, since I'm starting off slow in general, not just with tarot, but in all of life right now, I'm pretty slow. So we're just gonna focus on these 3 decks, and then the 2 sort of I don't know why I don't think of this or the Tarot de Marseille as like counting as decks in rotation. I feel like the old schools should always be around and they don't count as rotation. That's silly. Whatever. So much love. I hope you enjoy this series as much as I will, and I'm excited to take you along for the ride. Bye bye.